Singapore was once a strong, thriving trading port under the British rule. However, war tore our little island into pieces. From those pieces emerged stories, tales of the promised Utopia. World War II. With the bombing of Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, the supply of food in Singapore began dropping. In 1942, Singapore fell to the Japanese, and Sionanto was born. Operation Sukching, the Chinese targeted massacres occurred. Families were torn apart, and people marched in the streets as a form of submission. Everyone lived in fear. The food shortage forced the Japanese to evacuate civilians from Singapore. A Japanese diplomat, Mamoru Shinozaki, a sympathizer of Singapore, saw an opportunity in the chaos. Fiona Hodgkins is the author of From Sionan to Fujigo, a book about Bahau and its people.
He wanted to support the Eurasians because obviously the Eurasians, many human with fair skins, with European sounding names, were the kind of next in line that the Japanese were trying to get.
Your people will be saved. No Kempeitai. Bishop. Look at Edda. Chinese settlement. They are thriving there. It's a new hope, Bishop. Peace. Consider.
And you promise we will not be bothered by any Japanese?
I promise.
Okay, I'll do it. I will announce it during my service. We will go to Bahau.
With the help of Archbishop Adrian Deval, word of Bahau spread to the community.
How did he make it palatable to the Japanese? By selling them the story about the food shortages. But in fact, the food shortages was not the prime goal. The prime goal from Mamoru Shinozaki's perspective was to save these people.
On December 28, 1943, 150 people left for Bahau. The young families arrived, shocked to see nothing but jungle. Lucille Marcus, niece of a survivor of Bahau, and Vicky Rodriguez, born in Bahau, share their stories.
That's what made them move. But not knowing that it was actually a death trap for the Eurasians. There was no way out. Once you are there, you're really going to suffer.
Meanwhile, in Shonanto, the Japanese painted a pretty picture of Bahau. It worked. By January 1944, 3,000 people had settled in Bahau. But they did not know how to farm. The clay soil resulted in famine. Bahau became overcrowded, and pestilence then arose.
They never gave up and said, this is the end. No, they never did. The whole time they kept fighting and said, perhaps tomorrow it will change. Most of the Eurasians were dying due to lack of food and medication, and the water was not good. It was not clean water. It contained a lot of germs.
And they would get black water fever, and there was no cure for black water fever.
In April of 1944, a breakout of sickness occurred. People started dropping like flies. Vicky Rodriguez's mother contracted malaria when she was pregnant with her in Bahau.
She said, if I take the queenie, the child will die. He said, it's better the child dying than you dying. So she said, okay, so she took queenie.
Illnesses pushed the people to create their own medicines. When supplies ran out, they used camphorated oil to relieve coughs and colds.
Melanie, take the medicine. Either you or the baby.
Iron nails would be left to rust in jars of water. They would then drink the water full of rust as an iron supplement. Despite their efforts, the sickness often prevailed in Bahau.
Cold. Okay, George, we need to keep awake, okay? Keep awake for mommy, okay? George? George, wake up! George!
The stars are brightly shining. It is the night of the
Even during Christmas, the Japanese imposed a curfew, making it impossible to celebrate in church. And yet, they still found joy in their solitude.
Whenever there was an occasion to celebrate, they enjoyed themselves. Being Eurasians, they all could play an instrument, and most of them brought up their guitars and things like that. So they enjoyed singing and dancing, having a good time in spite of the misery and pain that they were enduring.
There weren't Christmas trees. My mother's family, my grandmother records that they got a casuarina tree and they hung chilies on it.
However, their short relief ended when Archbishop Adrian de Valles died on January 17, 1945.
That was probably one of the worst periods because, the situation of the people had got a lot worse in terms of medical, in terms of resources.
On August 15, 1945, after the bombing of Hiroshima, the Japanese surrendered. However, it was only in late August did the British Army discover the existence of Bahau. In September 1945, Major Hine of the Royal Engineers led Force 136 to liberate Bahau.
Is that the Japanese?
I don't think so.
It's the British!
We have to tell everyone! The British are here! The British are here!
He found 1,600 to 2,000 people out of the reported 3,000 that shifted to Bahau.
even the people who were in Sime Road during the war said it was better than being in Bahau, because at least when they were in the internment camp of Sime Road, they were given regular food.
I think the pain that they went through there
A lot of
must
people
be
don't
very
even want to
severe.
talk about the war also. A lot of people don't want to be interviewed about the war. Brings back bad memories.
The impact it's made on their lives, that things that have happened later in their life have been affected by the 18 months that they spent there.
Recently, when I went back, I see there on the road to Bahau was all jungle.
It's forgotten.
There was an area that we could tell from sketch maps that people had left where the burials took place, and we walked down there, but there's obviously no bodies there, and there is no documentation of what happened to them. As far as we could understand, they would be removed by the Catholic Church.
To this day, the question of where the bodies are remain unanswered. Though the world seems to have forgotten, what happened there will forever have an imprint on those who made the journey. The story of Bahau will remind us and generations to come of the fighting spirit that never died, and all for a safe place to call home.